Theater is one of the most ancient ways of storytelling and has been an important part of human culture for more than 2,500 years. Today, stagecraft represents an important part of the making of a show. Lights, costumes, makeup, props, and the scenery helps the story come alive. But what does it take to put a show together? Stay tuned to discover the technical aspects of a production as we go behind the scenes of King Lear at the University of Texas Pan American. The Tragedy of King Lear by William Shakespeare is a reflection of pride and greed in the human heart.
Shall my bosom ever be never pitied and relieved as thou sometime, daughter? Oh, good my liege.
With a cast of 27 actors and a plot that lasts more than 3 hours, putting this show together was not an easy task. How did they do it? Where did they start?
It's really important to think in terms, at first, of the big picture. Okay, so you've got to think in terms of the whole process and everybody in the cast, instead of getting caught up in little details initially. And then once you get, you know, some of the big stuff worked out, then you can go in and do the smaller things. And then you have to just start eliminating things off your to-do list. So you have to think big, and then you have to focus. Once you've done the thinking and the organizing, then go character by character or item by item. Probably the toughest thing with that many people is remaining organized and keeping, you know, charts up to date. And I think I had 3 charts going at one point. Most of them were cast in multiple characters. Some of them had 4 costume changes.
The number of the people in the cast doesn't affect me so much, other than how many of them are all on stage at the same time and where do they need to be. So tried to accommodate for, you know, how many people needed to be in a scene, and so sometimes you could use more of the stage or less of the stage. I also tried to incorporate in the levels places for people to sit and different ways to get from one level to another, because that helps to make the play, even though it's happening in the same physical area, makes the location be different by how you get to that space.
Initially, our inspiration was to set it in Stone Age. It starts off kind of bright, so we have this bright kind of green and pink and pale colors, and the knights are all dressed in bright blue and kind of a creamy tan color. And then as things start to get grimmer, all of that goes away and it gets progressively darker. So we ended up with grays and dark oranges and dark greens and dark colors, and then creams.
Actually, the colors for that came out of the movie Cowboys and Aliens. You know, the desert Southwest, but you had this differing, you know, in that case it had kind of the spaceship element into the middle of it. It kind of worked for me. Because I wanted to have this kind of man-made area in the middle of this kind of natural desert kind of wasteland. And then it evolved into the center area being this kind of ritualistic center, you know, ring. And I know the circles are kind of important in Celtic times, you know, the whole idea of Stonehenge and the ring of stone. I was trying to evoke more of a feeling of a space rather than the specifics of a space. I know we had to have a fight scene, so I knew I wanted some kind of levels for that. I knew I needed to do the storm, because Brian said he wanted a big storm. So I knew what I wanted to do for the lightning, which is use the automated fixtures, because they could get real bright and they could flash real well. But I wanted to be able to hide them so that we didn't see the fixtures themselves, because it kind of ruins the effect if you can see the fixture doing the light. So that's one of the reasons I went up high, because I knew I was going to put them on the floor, and I knew I wanted to hide them.
Unlike other theater companies, this one is a school company. All the work gets done by students, and the time is usually tied.
It takes a lot of people to build this. I came up with what it should kind of look like. How it was to be built was up to the shop, and I take my plan, draw my plans, and then we turn them over to the shop staff and our production manager / technical director, who is the one that takes those plans and is responsible for executing the design.
Anything that you want to learn about what goes behind the scenes, you can learn here in the shop. You can learn about carpentry, you learn about painting, you learn about the illusion of making things. It's not just here just for sets. We do props back here, and you learn how to improvise, you learn how to be creative, because you gotta take, like this last show we had to make some bows, and we made it out of like a lumber 2x4s, and we put it together and we shaped it, and just we used rope to make it look like a bow and arrow. And the same thing with arrows. We use what kind of materials there are out there to make what we need. We gotta keep in mind, it's for the theaters, for the plays. You don't have to make it real. The illusion is what sells it.
At the end, all the hard work pays off, and the set, lights, and costumes look marvelous on stage. But as opening night comes, so does the final performance. And, well, it's time to take everything apart.
You spend 4.5 weeks getting everything done, and you finally get it finished on Wednesday, and the show opens on Wednesday. And then Sunday, 2 hours later, it's all in the dumpster, torn, taken completely apart.
And everything is back to the beginning, ready for the whole process to start again. But don't worry, it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
We're lucky. We get to do things that are creative. We get to make things. We get to work within the arts. I mean, all of that is fun. If you're not having a good time, I mean, why do it?
Where else do you get to kind of lie to everybody and build all these wonderful spaces and then take them apart?